Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys the update to my Ritual Melodious deck. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. So starting off, we are of course playing with our Melodious monsters, and now these ratios have changed very slightly from my last deck profile, so let's go ahead and explain why. So starting off, I'm playing one copy of Aria the Melodious Diva, and one copy is really all you need now that Ostinato is here in the TCG. You don't ever want to draw into your Aria, you just really want to send her from your deck to the graveyard material for your Ostinato's fusion summon, so that's why one copy is just good enough. If you want to special summon her from the deck, all you really need to do is send your Aria along with another Melodious monster with Ostinato, and during the end phase you can special summon her back. That doesn't really come up too often, but it is an option if you so need it. So next off, we are playing two copies of Soprano the Melodious Songstress. Now Soprano is a very proactive card for the deck. It not only facilitates your fusion summons, but it also helps you recover resources from your graveyard, and those monsters that you're recovering are namely going to be either your two copies of Canon the Melodious Diva, or one of your three copies of Sonata the Melodious Diva. Now these Melodious monsters I have in these ratios because Canon you don't really want to see multiples of in your hand, and this deck has a lot of draw power and it has a lot of consistency as well. So having multiple Canons in the hand is kind of dead because you can only special summon her once per turn, whereas Sonata you can special summon her over and over and over again. So as long as you keep recurring her from the graveyard, or you keep drawing into copies of her, you can swarm your field and easily link climb into a bunch of shenanigans. Now the last Melodious monster that I play is one copy of Chopina the Melodious Maestra, and we have to play a Maestra in here because of course you have Bloom Diva and Bloom Prima in your extra deck that you can access with your Ostinato. So although she is a brick if you draw into her, she is really good if you do manage to get her onto the field, where if you have your Bloom Prima get destroyed during the end phase and she comes back to your side of the field alongside of something like your Aria, because on subsequent turns you can always use her effect to go ahead and recover light fairy type monsters from your graveyard and then facilitate more plays. So that does it for all of the Melodious monsters in the deck. Next off, we're going to go into some of the tech cards and the rituals. So starting off with the tech cards, we are playing the one, the only Cupid Volley. That's right, we're playing one copy of Cupid Volley. Now, she seems like a card that, is very gimmicky, and if you're not familiar with what she does, well, once per turn, you can choose a number from 1 to 3, and you can basically mill that many cards from the top of your deck. So she can actually help facilitate a lot of plays by setting up your graveyard, also triggering some other card effects, which we'll get into when we get into the spell cards. And Cupid Volley is also can adjust her level based on the amount of cards that you send. So if you send 3, she boosts her level by 3, and she could become a level 4 monster. So she's a level 1 monster, and she can facilitate some link summons as well. You can get access to things like Link Karibo, and because she can manipulate her level into like level 4 or whatever, you can also go ahead and XYZ summon with her for things like your Tornado Dragon or Abyss Dweller or whatever other rank 4s that you're running. So she is a very versatile card, and I actually really do love it. It's very gimmicky, yes, but it's also very practical as well. So definitely something to consider if you're trying to run this variant of the deck. So the next card that I run is of course going to be one copy of Honest, and Honest is here as just a catch-all, I can swing over anything that I want type of card, and it's really good with Saphra because you can always keep adding it from the graveyard back to your hand, and it helps you out some problematic monsters. Okay, so next off we have our ritual lineup, and our rituals are, well, fairly simple. We're running 3 copies of Saphra, Queen of Dragons, and she is going to be the main boss monster of the deck, where she helps you recur resources from the graveyard. She helps you draw into more cards during the end phase, or potentially disrupt your opponent by discarding cards from their hand to the graveyard. Although you don't really want to do that against decks like Burning Abyss or Dangers and stuff like that, because then they get their effects. But, it's an option against some slower decks that really need to work to get their advantage going. Okay, so also we're playing 3 copies of Cyber Angel Benten. This is going to be the main tribute fodder you're going to use in order to ritual summon your Saphra from your hand. And Benten, of course, can help you search a light fairy type monster, which not only includes the Melodious monsters, but also Honest and Cupid Volley. So definitely a fantastic searcher for the deck, and adds a lot of consistency as well. Okay, and the last monster that we're running is of course going to be our hand traps. We're running 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now you can replace this with what you prefer, Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler. They're all pretty decent in this format. Do keep in mind that if you play Ghost Ogre or Effect Veiler, that Saphira can trigger her effects off of those cards, whereas she can't really do it with Ash Blossom. But Ash Blossom is a generic catch-all hand trap, so I like to play this in the main deck. Okay, so that wraps up the monster lineup. So next off, let's go into some of the spell cards. So starting off with the spell cards, we are playing, of course, 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary. Now, Ritual Sanctuary not only allows you to tutor out your Cyber Angel Ben 10, your Saphira, or your Hymn of Light from your deck and acts as a searcher, but it also acts as a monster reborn every single turn. Now, the reason why I love Ritual Sanctuary in this deck is because the fact that it synergizes so well with Cupid Volley. Now, Cupid Volley is a level 1 light fairy type monster. That means you only have to shuffle 1 spell card from your graveyard back into your deck in order to summon Cupid Volley back out from your graveyard. So typically your play would look something like this. You'd normal summon your Cupid Volley, links into your Linkuriboh, and then use your Ritual Sanctuary, shuffling 1 spell from your graveyard back into your deck, which is very easily achievable, especially if you've used one of your terraformings to search out that Ritual Sanctuary. So you shuffle your terraforming back into the deck, summon your Cupid Volley out, and then you can go ahead and mill 3 cards, and then go for a follow-up Link to play. So it's a very nice combo that you can do, and it opens up a lot of different plays, you know, access to your nightmares, access to higher link monsters, and things of that sort. So I really love Ritual Sanctuary's interaction with Cupid Volley in this build. Alright, so next up we are playing our rituals, so we of course have to have searchers for those cards. So starting off, we're playing 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This gives us access to Saphira and Hymn of Light and is essentially a +1. So extremely staple card for any ritual build that can use it to search. Now, another staple card would be 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. Now, Preparation of Rites allows us to recover our Hymn of Lights back from the graveyard, but also allows us to search our Cyber Angel Ben 10 if we need it. So this is an alternative way outside of Ritual Sanctuary that you can access your Ben 10. So it adds a lot of consistency to the build. And of course, we have to play our ritual spell for our Saphira, so we're playing 3 copies of Hymn of Light. That should be fairly obvious there. So that's going to be it for the ritual cards. Next off, we're going to talk about some text that we play in the deck. So starting off, we're of course playing our 3 copies of Ostinato. This allows us to tutor out our Melodious fusion monsters from our extra deck, as well as set up our graveyard with a bunch of Melodious monsters for some combo shenanigans, especially with Ritual Sanctuary being able to revive those monsters, namely something like Soprano, which allows you to recur more things from your graveyard and generate a ton of advantage. So Ostinato is here for very obvious reasons. So next off, we're playing this package that makes Cupid Volley shine, and if you guys have been tuning in to recent streams, you will see the sack potential that this deck has. It's almost on par with that of Lightsworns, to be honest. So we are playing 1 copy of a Broken Bamboo Sword. Yes, that's right, we're playing the Bamboo Sword package right here, which means we're playing 3 copies of Cursed Bamboo Sword. I still need to get my other 2 copies, and we're following up with, of course, our powerhouse, Pot of Greed, 3 copies of Golden Bamboo Sword. Now, Cursed Bamboo Sword, whenever it's sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter from where, from your deck, your hand, the field, you can go ahead and search any other bamboo card. And this is great because you can search out your Broken Bamboo Sword and your Golden Bamboo Sword, and it gets triggered if you send it off of Cupid Volley. So if Cupid Volley manages to mill a copy of Cursed Bamboo Sword, then you're in luck because you get some free searches. Now, if you ever draw into your Cursed Bamboo Sword, not only could you activate it on the field and use it as another name for your Golden Bamboo Sword draws, but if you don't have Golden Bamboo Sword at all, then you can always pitch it with your Ritual Sanctuary and get your search from there. So you're getting advantages and pluses off your Ritual Sanctuary with this card, and I really love the interactions that it has. Now, there are other ways that you can send these Bamboo Swords from your deck to the graveyard, and one of the options that I love playing is, well, of course, 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. So you can, once per turn, send 1 spell or trap card from your deck to the graveyard, and this is an easy way for you to go ahead and send your Cursed Bamboo Swords, search your Goldens, and get additional draws. This draw engine is so powerful in this deck, especially because Ritual Sanctuary can shuffle back your Cursed and Golden Bamboo Swords for you to get draws over and over and over again. And you have so much potential for drawing into these cards with things like your Saphra, and you have so many ways of thinning out your deck with all of your searching cards that it's really easy to access this engine, and just once it gets started, it doesn't stop. Okay, so for the rest of the deck, we have 3 more cards. We're playing 2 copies of Called by the Grave for very obvious reasons, because Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is not really this deck's best friend, especially with all the searching that we need to do to set up our plays. And the last card that I play is 1 copy of Monster Reborn. And Monster Reborn is so good in this deck for obvious reasons, but also because you can shuffle both Called by the Grave and Monster Reborns back into your deck with your Ritual Sanctuary, so you can see them over and over and over again throughout the course of a duel. So that is why I love Ritual Sanctuary as a card, and why I really love Ritual Melodious as a build. So that does it for the main deck. Next off, we're going to go into the extra deck. Alright guys, so for the extra deck, starting off, it's a card that I've been mentioning over and over again. We're playing 1 copy of Linkuriboh. Now, Linkuriboh works so well with Cupid Volley, and once you get it out once, you can always bring it back from the graveyard over and over again, as long as you just Ritual Sanctuary back your Cupid Volley first. So it's a great card, deters opponent's attacks, and can help protect your field where you otherwise couldn't. We're also playing 1 copy of Hipposhinogen. This is very obvious because your Melodious monsters, your Saphra, your Cupid Volleys, they're all light monsters. It's really easy to make, and it helps boost up the attack of your Saphra to, 3,000 attack points, which is a really respectable amount and can help you attack over a variety of different monsters. We're also playing the Nightmare package, so we have 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, and 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Now, these cards are just very generic outs for our deck to kind of pick apart our opponent's board. Cerberus destroys monsters, Phoenix destroys spells and traps, and Unicorn can shuffle any card from your opponent's side of the field back into their deck. And all the while, as long as they're co-linked when they use their effects, they can get you additional draws, which is fantastic. And of course, the Nightmares can also pitch cards from your hand to the graveyard, which also helps you trigger things like your Cursed Bamboo Swords that you've managed to draw or in your hand. Okay, so next off, we're moving into the higher linked monsters. So we have for our Link 3s, 1 copy of Summon Sorceress and 1 copy of Topologic Trisbana. That's a little hard to pronounce, but anyway, Summon Sorceress allows you to facilitate a lot of combo plays by, summoning more Melodious stuff out from your deck. And of course, Topologic Trisbana helps you get rid of all of your opponent's back row, especially since we're starting to see a lot of these decks start setting a lot more back row. Even things like Sky Strikers that don't really necessarily play a lot of trap cards, but just set a lot of their disruptive spell cards in the back row. Trisbana is definitely a great way to go ahead and pick apart those boards, and we have enough ways to get more monsters on the field with your Sonatas, your Cannons, and your Cupid Volleys that these Link 3s are really easily achievable. So next up, we have our Link 4 monsters. These are the powerhouses of the deck that allow us to draw through our deck and get more combo pieces, as well as pick apart our opponent's boards and facilitate OTKs out of nowhere. So we have, starting off, our 1 copy of Saryuja Skulldread. Now, Saryuja allows you to draw 4, put 3 cards back to your deck. Fantastic for just seeing more cards, picking out the combo pieces you want to keep, or hey, maybe even drawing into a couple of Golden Bamboo Swords that allow you to go even further digging into your deck. We also play 1 copy of Boral Sword Dragon and 1 copy of Borreload Dragon. Boral Sword allows us to OTK out of nowhere, and Borreload is Borreload, allowing us to steal our opponent's monsters, or hey, even our opposing opponent's even our opponent's own Borreload Dragon to use against them. So that's going to be it for the Link monsters in the deck. Next off, we have our XYZs and our Fusions. So for our XYZ, we're only playing 1 of them, and that's 1 copy of Tornado Dragon. I just felt like this deck kind of struggles against back row, so having that extra rank 4 in the form of Tornado Dragon, alongside of course your Nightmare Phoenix and Nightmare Unicorn, helps you more consistently dismantle your opponent's back row. Of course, we also have Trisbana as well to fall on if we do need it, but it is a higher investment card, and it does have a triggering requirement, whereas Tornado Dragon, you don't really have that. And it's really easy to summon with your Soprano and your Cannon, so that's why I just thought it's a good idea to throw this in here. However, if you would need to adapt to your own needs, if you feel like a Abyss Dweller is better, if you feel like you want a Baguska or something like that, feel free to change this out. It's a very flexible slot in your extra deck, but I prefer to play one copy of Tornado Dragon for those reasons. And of course, last but not least, we have our fusions in the deck, which consist of 2 copies of Sherberta the Melodious Maestra, 1 copy of Bloom Diva the Melodious Choir, and 1 copy of Bloom Prima the Melodious Choir. These 2 cards, of course, you can summon off of your Ostinato fairly easily, and your Sherberta you could summon off of Ostinato, but really Bloom Prima is the card to go for in most situations. But your Sherberta can also be easily accessed with your just Soprano and Sonata or Soprano and Cannon summons. So yeah. That's going to be it for the extra deck, and that's going to be it for this deck profile. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.